One, two, three. This is Dr. Alex Avila with Love University. And we're back. Every week we talk about how to love yourself, others, and a higher nature. I'm an author, psychologist, and speaker. As the year rounds to a close, we're very grateful for all the support we've had from fans at Love University. And we really want to put out a positive love energy for next year that's coming up, 2019. And before we do that, we're going to have a very interesting show today, which is based on a popular acclaim. This is one of our most popular shows, and we're going to have a part 2 section today, talking about relationships, and actually even dysfunctional relationships, which sometimes can happen more than we think. And we talk about, how do we avoid these kind of dysfunctional relationships, and how to even make them better if possible. So the topic is, are you dating a lunatic? Part 2, how to crazy-proof your love life. Now, the term lunatic comes from an ancient term which refers to the idea that the moon and its light interrupted sleep and may have caused sleep disorders as well as mental disorders. And later on, it became kind of a term to represent mentally ill, dangerous, or foolish individuals. But our real topic today is what's called personality disorders and how it affects relationships. Personality disorders are enduring abnormal patterns of behavior and emotion that causes emotional pain in the person and others. We refer to terms like borderline personality, antisocial, histrionic. And you may not realize it, but the person you're with or dating or even married to may be someone that has a personality disorder or elements of. And that can cause a lot of problems in the relationships. And also the person themselves suffers from issues with impulse control, inability to regulate their mood, and also negative behaviors. Typically, personality disorders can last a long time, even into your 40s and 50s. And they can affect you in many different ways. In terms of where they come from, biologically, we look at genetic research, and some indication is that there is a partial genetic aspect to personality disorders. The prefrontal cortex is affected in those who have personality disorders, which deals with judgment and monitoring moods. Other research shows that early trauma, for example, child abuse, emotional, sexual, physical abuse, neglect, or even the early death of a parent can actually affect the person that develops personality disorder, in that they try to recapture the lost affection, the lost attention and love by acting in a maladaptive way, which we call personality disorders. So personality disorder is kind of like a maladjusted personality, malformed, that oftentimes hurts the people they're around. It makes it difficult to be around this person. Even though they may not realize they have a problem or issue, they might think they're okay. So the goal is, if you are single and want to meet the right person and you're dating, is to screen out dating candidates. Ask the questions, look for signs that may indicate this person has some elements or even a full-blown personality disorder. And if you are with someone in a long-term relationship, maybe in love or living together or married, that has a personality disorder, there are ways that you can also maybe help them or help yourself through therapy if you recognize what they have. So let's get into it. What are some of the types of personality disorders that we see often in relationships? One of the most researched one is called the borderline personality. If you remember the movie Fatal Attraction, where she falls in love with this married man, and everything's wonderful, and then he tries to cut it off, and then she goes bonkers and leaves a dead rabbit on the doorstep. So this is the kind of person that goes between love and hate. They can idolize you, think you're the best in the world. It's a tremendous romantic honeymoon kind of period. But then, if you don't return their calls in time, if you don't follow through on what they want you to do, they can turn the other way, and they can say you're unfaithful or you're terrible, and they can have almost a hate for you. This is known as dichotomous thinking. They split themselves between this love and this dislike of a person. And it can be very dangerous for themselves. 8 to 10% of people with borderline personality commit suicide. The majority of borderline people are women, females. So if you see this person that you're dating that may have these tendencies where they have unstable relationships, they don't have clear boundaries. They overstep the boundaries, barging in on you in the room at all times, not letting you have any peace or privacy, calling you all the time, wanting to know what you're doing, and being worried that you're not giving them the affection and love they feel they deserve, and they become very angry. So you can ask yourself a question. Do I feel as if the world is spinning out of control when this person is angry? Do I fear disagreeing with them? If the answer is yes, then there's a possibility that they have elements of this borderline personality. The other idea is that if you're with a borderline personality disorder person, and you're married to them, how do you deal with that person? One thing you need to do is to set limits, because they violate boundaries. You need to set firm limits. For example, let's say they call you 10 times a day at work, wanting to know what you're doing. You might tell them, okay, you can only call twice a day at work. Also, delay. If they're coming at you in a very aggressive way and they're attacking you for whatever reason, tell them, hey, I need some time to think. let's take a little time out and we'll come back and talk about it. Or distract them. Say, let's go out for a walk or let's do something to get their mind off it. And also detach. Realize that this behavior that they have toward you, this anger, this loss of expectation, is part of their personality disorder. And it's not you, it's really them. So don't take it personally. Think of yourself like a doctor in a mental hospital where you're giving medicine to the patients. If they want to take the medicine, that's fine. If they don't, it's nothing to do with you. So separate yourself. Now, there are advantages to all these personality disorders, actually so-called benefits, and that's why people are attracted to them. A person who's a borderline personality can offer you an intense feeling of being loved. It's that incredible high, that romantic feeling when you first fall in love and you release those brain chemicals like amphetamines. It's a tremendous feeling. But then the downside is that when things collapse, when they find out you're not perfect, when they see your faults, they come back and attack you severely and have this horrible negative energy towards you. So you're often on an emotional roller coaster. Think of like walking on eggshells. Now, some people actually have parents who are borderline and they're raised that way, and then they might pick partners that have the same emotional instability style. Another personality disorder, we often see these more commonly among males, is known as the antisocial, also known commonly as sociopath or psychopathic personality. The kind of person that disregards other people's rights, may violate the law. They can be aggressive, manipulative, exploitative. They have a lack of guilt and remorse. They can be anywhere from a person who commits petty crimes to a serial killer, con artist, or just someone that manipulates and lies to get advantages over people. Some research shows that as early as childhood, some of these individuals, antisocials, are able to mutilate animals and set fires. And they have a disregard for other people, for property. And the way to find out is to ask questions to yourself. Does this person that you may be dating or know seem disinterested in intimacy? They're often very superficial. They don't want to go deeper. Do they lack morality or honesty? And is it true that they don't care about how their actions affect others? If those answers are correct, then possibly they have elements of sociopathic personality. Now, again, like all personality disorders, there are positives to this personality type. They can appear very charming, fun-loving, confident, sexy, and they have this kind of a charisma about them. They can be very attractive, and they can be leaders and successful in certain areas in business. But the negative part is they can hurt you for their own personal gain. They can discard you when they no longer need you. Then we have another personality disorder that you might run into called the histrionic, and this is more common in females. The histrionic personality is someone who is desperate for attention. You can call them the drama king or drama queen. They will become very angry if you don't give them attention. They're very dramatic. Could be sexually provocative, the way they dress and the way they act. So sometimes their friends who are same-sex friends don't like to be around them because they may want to take their boyfriend or girlfriend or partner in a romantic sense because they're very seductive in their natures. The highest divorce rate among personality disorders is the person with histrionic personality disorder. They don't have a lot of tolerance for things that are the same. They want change constantly. They often go into highs and lows emotionally, so it's very hard to live with them. So you might ask yourself, if you think the person you're with is a histrionic, the question, am I growing tired of constantly having to validate this person and give them that attention they want and the emotional reassurance? Do they have a need for attention that I can never satisfy? Again, if the answer is yes, possibly they have histrionic elements or even the full-blown disorder. Now, like in all disorders, there's some good elements. They can be very attractive, physically attractive. They take care of themselves, the way they dress, they're entertaining. And some of our famous actors have elements of histrionic personality, but they can be very overwhelming. They can be consuming. You're always trying to please them and give the attention. It can drain you emotionally. Then we have the narcissistic personality disorder. These are very interesting, and again, there's a lot of research on these. These are individuals that have an over-exaggerated belief in their abilities or powers. They feel entitled, and to them, status is very important. What car they drive, what kind of house they own, how much money they make. They may think they're more brilliant, attractive than other people, and that they're better and more intelligent. And as a result, they may disrespect others and put them down because they want to feel superior. Underlying, they might have an inferiority complex, but they overcompensate by having this superiority idea. And the worst thing that can happen to them is that they would feel devastated if they think they are normal or average. They have to be superior, super normal. Also, they lack intimacy because it's all about them. It's all about their world. They can be very self-centered, selfish, and not be able to give you the love that you want. So a question you can ask yourself if you're with someone who you consider to be a narcissist is, do they wear me down with a need for adoration? Do I always have to be praising them? Because they want someone that's going to follow them around and give them all this adoration and praise. Now, there are different kinds of narcissistic personalities. One is called the grandiose. The grandiose is a person who feels they're self-important. They're often aggressive, dominant, confident, and perhaps they were treated as being superior in childhood. They were the mama's boy, daddy's girl. They thought the world was theirs. So they can step over people without thinking about it because it's all about them. And then you have what's called the vulnerable, emotionally sensitive narcissist, who is a person that can be empathetic at times and have feelings, but they go between being superior in their mindset or feeling inferior. They don't feel they're good enough. So they go back and forth. So they can feel sad and depressed at times, and they have some emotional reactions. Again, the plus side of a narcissist personality is that they can be charming, successful, physically attractive. They put themselves together well. They dress well. And they believe themselves to a high level that it can be very alluring to be with one. But the negative side is that, again, they're often self-centered. They may not have much depth in relationships. And they may not be as capable of love because it's all about them. It's all about their well-being. And then we have the dependent personality types. Dependents are individuals who are very clingy, needy. They have a strong need to be taken care of. They can't make decisions by themselves. They always have to be asking, what should I do? How should I do this? And they often alternate between having very low self-esteem to wanting to be a very good person. Oftentimes they're very accommodating. They're very easygoing and quiet, but they can blow up if eventually they get mad at something or they become passive-aggressive. Their biggest fear of being alone or losing their relationship. So many times they immediately seek another relationship if they get out of the one they're in. So you can ask yourself, if you're with a person that may be dependent personality, is do they overwhelm me with neediness? I'm always trying to rescue them, help them. Now, the advantage of a person who has dependent personality disorder is that they can be very devoted, supportive, and loyal. You're the center of their world. The negative side is that it can be a lot of pressure on you because you have to fulfill all their needs, even needs that you don't even know that they have or that you can fulfill because they need you at all times. It can be extremely oppressive for you. Then we have the obsessive compulsive personality disorder, OCPD. Now, you may have heard of persons who are obsessive compulsive disorder, which is a severe clinical disorder related to someone who has repetitive thoughts based on anxiety that they have to relieve through compulsions, repetitive acts. For example, a person has to wash their hands 20 times a day because they feel there are germs and they fear they will be infected. The OCPD personality disorder is a milder form of that, where it's kind of a lifestyle where they have to be extremely controlled and organized and follow regulations and orderliness. Someone who may color coordinate the closet, have to keep everything in a certain way. They can be rigid, controlling, and stubborn, and instead of being flexible, open, or spontaneous. Now, this could be an issue in relationships because you want to have fun, for example, in the relationship, and maybe do stuff with them, but they have to be doing things in a certain way. So you ask yourself the question, is this little habit they have, maybe cutting up meat 10 different ways, is that endearing or annoying? The more annoying it becomes, the more it becomes a problem. Now, the advantage is that they can be very organized. So if you're not an organized person, as long as they can live with your messy style, they can help you organize. They're often good with money. They're good savers, so they can help you that way. But again, it may be able to take the fun out of the relationship and that you have to abide by their rules, and they don't like to change the rules. Now, here's some interesting facts about personality disorders in relationships. Is oftentimes research shows that opposing personality disorders attract or ones that are in different groups. For example, we have the cluster B. Cluster B are those that are overly dramatic, overly emotional, or unpredictable. The ones we talked about, some of them, the borderline, the antisocial, for example. They often get together with people who are from cluster C personality disorders, which are more the anxiety and fear ones, like obsessive compulsive personality disorder or dependent personality disorder. So it's kind of interesting that you might find someone who's obsessive compulsive with a messy person who's histrionic, or a narcissist with a dependent personality disorder. So the dependent personality disorders likes the strong personality of the narcissist that can take charge of things and take care of them. Narcissist likes the adoring dependent personality disorders that gives them a lot of love and affection. Now, in the beginning, that can be like a great combination, it seems like, because they feel what the other person doesn't have. But in the long term, they can fight with each other because they realize that the emptiness they have inside cannot be filled by the other person. It's an internal wound that has to be taken care of through therapy or other means. It's very difficult to have the other person fill that. And the other thing that we learn about personality disorders in relationships, and this is very interesting, is that actually there are some benefits to being a little bit of these disorders. For example, histrionic and narcissistic personality disorders are more common among high-level executives than the criminally and mentally ill, because these are people that are charismatic. They're often very confident. They're often good persuaders, so they can often do very well in certain settings in business or other areas. In a 2010 study, they took a look at how to distinguish between successful antisocials from unsuccessful antisocials. And what they found is that people that maybe in business were very successful, or in arts, science, government, were often individuals who may have had some antisocial qualities. They may have been ruthless, manipulative, and self-centered, but they were also able to have some conscientiousness. They had a little bit of understanding of the long-term consequences of their actions. Because antisocials are often very impulsive. So they're able to curtail their impulsiveness to reach a positive goal. So instead of ending up in jail or bankruptcy or other issues, they're able to use their narcissism or their sociopathic personality to reach high-level goals through their assertiveness and aggressiveness. The other thing that's interesting is that oftentimes people who have early trauma often develop personality disorders. And I mentioned that, for example, losing a parent, to death can have that effect. But they also found that losing a parent to death early on can actually create people that are very successful. 45% of highly esteemed personalities in celebrity world lost their parents before the age of 25. So there's something about having that missing parent that drives a person for more accomplishment, achievement, and love. And as a result, some of them can be successful in a certain sense in the world. Now let's talk about you. Let's talk about dating, romantic relationships. What happens if you detect that the person you're dating or a friend or someone that you're around has elements of personality disorders? Ideally, you would move on from that person and not continue, because that can be a very dangerous person to be with relationship-wise. It can hurt you in many different ways, emotionally, financially, psychologically. But at the same time, you might be already in a relationship or married or in love with someone who has elements of personality disorders or a full-blown personality disorder. What do you do in that case? The first thing is to realize that a certain number of people have an elevation in certain areas. Even yourself, you might be a little obsessive about certain things, or you might need attention, and so might your mate. So realize that some elevations can be, common in a relationship, and doesn't necessarily have to mean that it doesn't work. Also, you want to find out what's the combination of the so-called personality disorders that your mate has. Maybe they have a little bit of dependent personality disorder. They're a little bit needy at times, or they're a little bit histrionic. Maybe they seek attention. And then realize what personality disorder may I have a little bit of elevation. Maybe they're dependent and I'm a little bit self-centered in some ways, maybe narcissistic. But the problem is that many times people that have personality disorders don't believe they have a problem. So they're often not going to seek therapy. And that could be a big issue. So first of all, find out what are the elements that this person may have. Is it a full-blown personality disorder? Is it part of a personality disorder? You can look at books about it, YouTube, maybe see a therapist to find out. Weigh the pros and cons of the relationship. Maybe there are a lot of good elements to this person. They're confident, attractive, intelligent. Maybe they're loving and devoted. So certain of these so-called personality disorders may have good elements, and there's more positive than negatives. And also, are you both willing to change? Both the person that has the personality disorder and yourself, because sometimes you become a codependent. You enable this person for your own inner needs. Maybe you didn't feel loved by your parents, and then you want someone that gives you a lot of extra love, or vice versa. And are you both committed to working on the relationship? And again, here's a problem. People with personality disorders often don't want to go to therapy because they don't think they have a problem. They think the other person has a problem. So many times it's the non-personality disorder mate who ends up going to therapy and not the other one. But overall, the idea is that to be happy in your relationships, you want to find someone who is mentally healthy as much as possible. And you also want to be mentally healthy as much as possible. And that's what we talk about here at Love University, is that love really, if you define it in a different way, it can be considered mental health. To be able to actualize your potential, be the best you can be, give love to yourself, others, and a higher nature, and find people that resonate with that style, people that can fill their inner void, not necessarily with other people or activities, but with their own inner awareness, their own inner love. And this is really the key. Having self-esteem is inner love. So when you try to find the right person or attract the right person, or if you're in a relationship, is the key to work first on yourself and also see if your partner can do the same. Because when two people grow individually, they can grow together and have more power, passion, and love. And that really is the purpose of what we're talking about today. Now, before I close for today, I want to bring in my producer, Reggie. Reggie, we're very happy that we have just closed up 2018. We've already done more than 100 shows together. Our ratings have been phenomenal. And I want to bring your opinion on this. How do you feel about what we've done this year and next year?
I feel great. And I'm very excited about the next year.
Yes, because, goals and resolutions are very important. And all of us have them. For Love University, we want to increase our listenership. We want to have more events next year in community building. And we want to basically spread love and help eradicate loneliness. And this is one I want to announce today. Our goal at Love University is to eradicate loneliness by the year 2025, to help eliminate that. And that's a big goal, isn't it, Reggie?
Yeah, very big.
But what do you think about that idea?
That would be an amazing goal if we could accomplish that.
Exactly. Well, yeah, because we want to help people unite. Imagine if people in the world, there are 6 billion people, if a good number of them are part of Love University, through our podcasts and communities, we can help them eradicate loneliness, because loneliness is many times an internal trait. You could be around people, but you're separated psychologically and emotionally. So we want to bring people together. So that's one of our big goals for next year, Reggie, Love University. And also, I want to hear, what are your resolutions for next year, Reggie?
To eat healthier, work out more, and keep up the good work.
Okay, very good. So eat healthy, work out, okay, and keep doing good work. All right, I like that, Reggie. So you, and also maybe find a nice lady friend. I think we're working on that one, right? Okay. Because we have that romantic date, $100 date we planned for you, right? If you can find the right person. So this year was going to be a great year. So again, Love University students, be mentally healthy yourself, attract mentally healthy individuals to be with, and help other people as well. You can offer your help and advice, but don't be stuck in a wrong kind of maladaptive relationship that can hurt you or your children or your family members. So again, Love University students, a great 2019 about to come. We wish you the best with a lot of love and affection. Please put away your books, notepads, iPads, and computer. And until next year, Dr. Avila, Love University.